A lot of what I talk about with people is about desire discrepancy and how there's a higher desire person and a lower desire person, and how do you bridge that difference and collaborate on a sex life that works for both of you. And I got a question submitted around what do we do if neither person wants sex? If both people are low desire, what then? And this does happen. This is not that unusual. So I want to talk about how you might handle this in your relationship. First, I want to say that two people that are happily not having sex do not have a problem, and there is nothing to solve. You don't need to be having sex if you don't want it. And if both of you are happy, again, that's workable. You can have a perfectly fulfilling and lovely relationship together. So it's not problematic just because you both don't have interest in sex. But if you want to be having sex, if somehow this matters to you, you want this to be a part of your life, but neither one of you has that sort of spontaneous, proactive kind of desire, so nobody's initiating it, there are ways to think about this and behave that could bring this back into your life. So we have to keep in mind this concept of reactive desire. For an awful lot of people, they don't think about sex and they don't miss it and they're not in the mood. So nothing spurs them to initiate it or enter into a sexual encounter. But for most of these people, once they get started and they get what they need and they start to get into their body, they may end up aroused and then they want sex. So, this concept of reactive desire is so important. You need to start doing something and you need to connect with what you would enjoy at that point and then be open to the engine turning over and becoming interested in sex, but also okay if it doesn't happen. Reactive desire only shows up somewhere between 5% of the time and 95%, not 100. So for two people that are much more on this reactive desire end of the spectrum, not thinking about sex, not spontaneously horny, this is where you're going to have to be more intentional about creating time to enter into that space to start to have a physical interaction with each other. And again, you've got to think about what does that on ramp look like for you? It probably doesn't mean like diving in and making out or heavy petting or something like that. Maybe you need to sit and sip a cup of tea or have a conversation or start some snuggling or some caressing or massaging and then see where it goes. It's okay if it's a nice, slow, gradual on ramp, but you're going to have to create these opportunities on purpose. And once you start to do that and start to tune into what would feel good to me right now, where would I want to start? What would I like next? And communicate about that with your partner. And then make sure you're giving yourselves the, I don't know, the permission, the validation that it's okay if it doesn't lead to desire and to sex. It's not going to every time. But if some small percentage of the time you kind of get into it and actually end up aroused and wanting sex, cool, right? Then you're having sex you wouldn't have had otherwise. So that's the main answer is the two people with reactive desire, with low libido, who are not thinking about sex, who are not necessarily missing it, but still want it in their life. Create these windows of time to intentionally be physically intimate in some way, and then see what happens.